Thank you for listening to ShulchanAruch.com.
May or should one recite a bracha upon smelling a tea bag? May one use a tea bag for Besamim by Havdalah? And depending on the answer of the above questions, is there any reason to avoid smelling tea bags? So while this question may sound quite simple with a simple answer, in truth it is not at all, and covers many of the details explained in Dinei Besamim, in the laws of smelling spices in Shulchan Aruch chapter 216 and 217, as we will see. And the reason behind its complexity is because there are many ways that tea can be manufactured. And in order to go ahead and answer this question properly and accurately, we will now summarize the tea making process and the different types of teas that are sold. So the generic term tea, which is used and assumed whenever the term tea is used, is made from the Camellia sinensis plant, cultivated in different areas of the world, but mainly in Asia, India. It is the main source of all teas, generic teas such as white tea, yellow tea, green tea, oolong, dark tea, pura tea, and black tea, and others. The difference between all these different names we mentioned is simply in the way that the tea is cured and developed, and is not due to a different root, a different source of plant, but the same plant is used in all these teas. Then we have what's called herbal tea. Even though the leaf used in the regular tea, the Camellia sinensis, is also an herb, the generic term herbal tea is referring to all teas made not from the Camellia sinensis plant. So herbal tea is a very general name, including all herbs. That's not the natural tea leaf herb that's used. Then we have what's called scented or flavored teas, which is either herbal or non-herbal, such as we said before, the Camellia sinensis plant, which has had flavors and scents added to them. Now that we know this information, you can know when you have a tea box, when you're purchasing tea, are you purchasing plain tea, which is the Camellia sinensis plant? Are you purchasing herbal tea, which is a different plant? And is the tea scented and flavored with one scent, while its leaf is from a different species? It's quite common to have many plain teas made from the Camellia sinensis plant be scented and flavored with different flavorings. Some of the more common ones is jasmine tea, rose Congo, and Earl Grey tea, made with bergamot oil for scenting. But nonetheless, all these teas, the leaf is all the same leaf of the Camellia sinensis tea. Now that we have the reality of how tea is made and the different types, let's now determine the halacha of whether a blessing of beirei, mini besamim, atzi besamim, isvi besamim should be said upon smelling it, and whether you're allowed to smell it at all. So we have a few clear guidelines in the laws of smelling spices, which determine whether a blessing may be said or not. And you basically need to have 4 conditions fulfilled. Condition number 1, it's a good smell. If you don't enjoy the smell, how can you say a bracha to Hashem? It's not like food that gives you vitamins and sustenance whether you like the food or not. The whole point of the smell is the goodness of it. So if you don't like it, you can't say a bracha. So that's A. Has a good scent. 2, in addition to having a good scent, it has to have an intrinsic good scent and not an additive. So something which is not of a natural good scent and you added a good scent to it would not deserve a bracha. Number 3, this good scent, which is natural to the leaf, is commonly smelled by people outside of using for its tea purpose, or outside of using for whatever purpose it's manufactured for. But if people don't really smell it, then the blessing of Besamim is not said even if you smell it and it has a good scent. Our 4th condition is that even if it has a good scent and it's intrinsic to the leaf, and people do commonly smell it outside of its normal use for food or for tea, a bracha can only be said if you picked it up for the purpose of smelling it. Although these 4 conditions, some of them are clouded in dispute, practically this is the final ruling. Further details of the disputes can be found in the article and the footnotes. So let's proceed based on these premises. What would be the halacha then regarding smelling tea? And the halacha is as follows. It depends on the type of tea. Plain tea, non-herbal, made from the Camellia sinensis plant, which as we said includes white tea, yellow tea, black tea, etc. Since it's not commonly smelled by people and its main use is for flavoring water, making tea, that's what it's cultivated for, therefore, a blessing is not to be recited upon smelling it, even if you personally enjoy the smell. And thus plain tea cannot be used for Besamim by Havdalah. However, since in truth, this idea that the smell must be commonly smelled by people is under debate in the Paiskin, therefore the Alter Rebbe concludes in Seder B'Chasanen in chapter 11, Halacha 9, as rules the Magen Avram, to avoid smelling it altogether if you like the smell. So to summarize, plain non-herbal teas are debated if a blessing is said upon smelling it, if you enjoy the smell, and practically we rule that not only can you not say the bracha over it, but you also should avoid smelling it altogether. And if you really do want to smell it, you should first say a bracha on something else which does deserve a bracha according to halacha, and only then go ahead and smell this tea bag. Now let's move on to scented or flavored teas. So since scented and flavored teas receive their scent from an outside source which has been removed from the leaf that's in your tea bag, therefore, as we said, it's lacking one of the conditions, and you can't say a bracha on it. This would apply to both herbal and non-herbal teas. However, since in truth also in this case there are poskim who argue and say a blessing is to be said, even though it's not a natural scent, therefore the Alter Rebbe concludes in Seder B'Chasanen in chapter 11, halacha 11, that you should avoid smelling it at all. So just as we ruled regarding plain tea, so too scented and flavored teas are to be avoided against smelling, and only if you say a bracha on a different spice which deserves a blessing can you include it in the smell. Last but not least, herbal teas, which are made from leaves other than Camellia sinensis, as we explained, and they do not contain additives or flavorings, etc. So here's where we can begin discussing that a blessing should be said. And this would depend on fulfilling all the conditions we mentioned. So if the herbal tea contains a good scent, and it's commonly smelled by people outside of the tea bag use, and you picked it up for the sake of smelling it, then you can say a bracha upon smelling it without a problem. An example would be cinnamon tea or mint tea, which is made from the actual cinnamon and actual mint without any other flavorings and additives that are missing from there. So you can pick up these tea bags and say the bracha on them and use them for Havdalah, as it's no different than picking up the actual leaf itself. Now, what bracha should one say? So this is a general question. It depends on the source and form of growth of the herb. If it grows as a leaf or as a grass on the ground, then it receives the blessing of Isvei Besamim. If it grows on a tree or a hard stalk of a plant, then it's Atzei Besamim. Even though it's ground inside the tea bag, it would still receive these respective blessings based on what its source is. So on herbal tea made from peppermint or spearmint leaves, you would say Beire Isvei Besamim. That's a bracha we recite on mint. If you don't know, you're not a bucky, you don't know how it's made, how it's grown, then you just say Beire Minim Besamim, as rules the Alter Rebbe in Seder B'Chasanen in chapter 11, halacha 3, in the Mechaber in 2:16-2. So to summarize, we never say a bracha of Besamim over smelling tea bags, and we avoid even smelling them to begin with unless it is herbal tea that's unscented, unflavored, which contains a good smell, which you lift it to your nose for the sake of smelling, and is commonly smelled by people outside of its tea use.
Thank you for listening to ShulchanAruchHarav.com. Our free services of making Torah knowledge available to the public depends on donors like you. Please help us continue our work through making even a small contribution at ShulchanAruchHarav.com under the Daily Halacha Dedication section or in the subscription page. Also, check out our online courses and many sefarim available for purchase that will both enhance your Torah knowledge and help support our work.